my sister, I swear, when I'm at her house in Detroit, it's almost like she's waiting to hear that post flush water thing. You know what I mean? It's like if the door opens too soon after the flush, go back in there and wash your hands. And I mean, really, she's like 10 years younger than me. She is antiseptic, believe me. Anyway, where were we? Oh yeah, individual projects, philosophical aspects. Let's make this short.
She got radio stations on it. Great radio
with the police.
You better pause. They talking about nothing right now.
I know. Yes. I'm sorry. Go ahead. Sorry, man. What'd you say?
Yeah.
Individual projects.
And philosophical aspects.
Of what? Aspects of what?
Individual projects.
Oh.
Individual.
Or
aspects.
other.
Yeah.
I mean, it's because the next question, I'm going to tantalize you a little bit, and it's our last question. Nigger hunting season in USA.
Oh, right. Okay.
It's in full flower, bro.
Okay, but I don't want to go there yet.
Right.
Ideas, aspects.
Well,
because I haven't gotten a phone call for a collaboration, so that's why I'm asking this question. Just kidding. Go ahead.
Well, here's an example, okay, in terms of individual projects. I mean, the whole thing about making anything in the music world these days, at least in our area of the music world, is how to get it done and how to get it disseminated. And from my position, if I don't want to be a full-time administrator, then there's a very low incentive for me to get involved. The Ascension record, part of the reason that it took 10 years was one, in the initial instance, the labels, the likely suspects, people were reluctant or resistant or fearful. The other side of it is, well, we put it out ourselves, which involves a whole level of cash, capital, and then, the administrative part of that, administering the whole thing and following up on all of that.
That's pretty.
And, the three of us, that's not really what we're into. Finally, I just said, well, look, because JT kept saying, man, we need to get this out. This record. I said, all right, look, I'm just going to call people. I'm just going to start calling people. And I just did. And I went to the most unlikely place, which was Sunnyside, and they were the ones that put it out. All the likely suspects had a story of one kind or another. So individually, for example, I was offered a deal on DIW Japan for a solo project. Now, not meaning like I can hire a band or anybody, but solo, like just me.
We ain't spending no money.
They offered like $7,000 and then the expenses for, producing anything, packaging it, to own my master. To which I said, I'm really flattered that you asked.
What did you say?
I said, no, I said, thanks for asking, but let's do a licensing deal. Because $7,000 is not enough for them to own my shit and not know if it's going to reach the United States or Europe, where I actually do function as a professional, and then get to Japan every once in a while.
Right.
And Australia, even rarer so far. So now it's evolved into a licensing deal, which I'm waiting for them to approve, which means that the funding to create the thing or the resources to produce the thing still must be conjured. Now, in my case, and maybe people functioning like me, that's the state of affairs. My very good friend and our now new collective colleague, Cassandra Wilson, recently was involved in a crowdsourced funding effort for her latest project, Music of Billie Holiday, a tribute to Billie Holiday.
Right.
And even she expressed dismay at the terms that she finds herself compelled to participate with if she wants it to happen at a certain level in the music business. And we, without going into that, because that's her business, just to say that, to me, the thing is, and we've got a new one in the can that we're about to address next week with Wadada, Leo Smith.
Cool.
For me, it's about making the work and getting the work out there some kind of way, retaining ownership, and continue to move forward, keep stepping. Because the people who read about it, the people who hear about it, the people who see about it, that creates the sense that there's movement, that something's happening, that there's something developing, and that they need to check in with you. That's the only point of it to me, which is the short version would be creating a calling card, creating something that says, like Kilroy back in the day. Yeah, I do this. Here you go. You know.
Not that this is all I do.
Understood.
No, but I'm saying this is what the CD does.
Yeah.
It places you. It places you, and then, you know, through criticism or other aspects of observation of what you do, this becomes what I thought you did this.
Right.
What is this other thing here? In other words, they've dulled down the possibilities of creative people. They just and where I'm living right now, everything's in a fucking box. It's just. But I thought you were like a avant-garde jazz poet.
Right.
No, but I'm doing this too. Well,
that's life. Yeah.
Right.
You know.
It's really
just
interesting.
Do that because that's what we know.
Right. But it's interesting too of what we're learning, what we do, of what people are interested in plugging into what we do. The people who have like the cojones to jump into what we do. We've done projects with Michelle and different people, and people that actually not necessarily hearing what we do, but feeling what we do. Like, yeah, this is some real stuff, and for me, it's really enlightening because I'm actually surprised, because I think what we do is still like kind of on the edge, but there are people that can hear what we're doing, and it actually pushes us forward,
Oh, I'm sure. Well, if they get the opportunity.
Pushes me forward, yeah.
Right. If they get the opportunity.
If they get the opportunity, yeah.
I mean,
yeah, totally.
Yeah, I mean, who wouldn't? I mean, they can read.
I know my grandmother could hear what we're doing, but she's not here. She's like up there.
But she's hearing it.
Sadiq, I mean, as you know, I have this acoustic project, this total acoustic duo that's playing music that's all basically drifting. And then there's Harriet Tubman. And I just love the fact that these two things are very, very much me, and they're also very dear to me, and that people, certain people have trouble reconciling that. They say, well, like you just said, but Harriet Tubman, but you do this over here, but da-da-da-da. And see, to me, that's sheer joy, because it's like, yeah, but really, I do the same thing in both ensembles.
No. I mean, without question. I mean, but it's like I said, there are philosophical aspects, and I mean, it for me in some ways harkens back to I remember in an interview, I remembered while I was doing this thing how we used to listen to music back in the day. You know what I mean? Yo, man, I got the new blah blah album. Come on by, man. Come on by, B. And you
I'll be right over.
Yeah, and you put the album on, drop the needle, and it's silence in the fucking room. Wasn't no coffee cups tinkling or let me roll a joint. Yo, we got any papers, B? I mean, it was none of that. It was just like
we listen
in school. It was like being in school. Shut the fuck up and actually hear what's being done here.
Really listening.
Yeah, really listening. And that was in a lot of ways education, because learning to play percussion was from records.
Right.
I would listen to all the Cal Jader in the beginning with Armando Peraza, and then, I'd be like, and then, later on in life, I got hip to like Harry Parch. You know what I mean? Shit like that. I mean, and then Cage, where it was like, this is also possible with that. And I was like, oh, shit. So
they have classes like that in college now, bro.
Yeah, now you got to go to school for it. But what I'm saying is those days created this, for lack of a better term in 21st century, database, which I don't think exists anymore. And the possibility of this database, because that took time. You know, if you got 300 records in your collection, that's 300 hours you've spent minimum.
Yeah.
You just listen once to each one.
Right.
That doesn't exist anymore. So that database is very difficult to reference for younger musicians, unless, of course, like over here, they have music teachers in the jazz program who teach the real book and shit like that. But they don't know nothing about the guy who wrote the tune.
No.
Or who made the tune famous. It's like, have you ever heard of blah, blah, blah? Who?
Yeah,
Well,
right.
you're playing the song.
Yeah, and like one of my teachers used to say, they ain't put the song on the street. They ain't played the song. They haven't played the song.
Yeah.
It hasn't lived its street life, you know.
Well, you're talking about individual projects.
Yeah.
So Melvin just finished a film score for a documentary film that he's not talking about for some reason. So I didn't say that if it's not.
No,
if it's on,
but I read up on that. I read up a little bit about that. That's my man.
AJ.
AJ. Yeah.
Yeah, we had the.
I saw that shit. It's deep.
Yeah, it was on
Beautiful
TV.
shooting. I mean, shit was beautiful. I listened to it. It was like, no, it's very dark, isn't it? Some dark ass shit in there. You know,
Yeah,
I love dark. You know, I'm like darky.
we wanted to see it too, Sadiq.
Huh?
But JT and I wanted to see it too, but our good buddy, for some reason, forgot to let us know.
Yeah, it's like that.
It's a beautiful piece. I mean, AJ, I think he's outdone himself with his processing and the fact that, nobody's talking in the film. It's just an overdub of the voice, right?
Yeah, I mean, basically, he did all the interviews. He didn't want to film anybody talking. That was
Right.
his thing. So everybody was filmed and everybody spoke, but they didn't both happen at the same time.
Right.
That's what and that's pretty great. And as you said, the thing is called Dreams Are Colder Than Death. It was on German television a few months ago. We did, it's been shown at the LA Film Festival, New York Film Festival, and the idea is to get it up on Netflix in the next few months. And
Beautiful piece, yeah.
And that's cool. I mean, and AJ's one of my dudes, he's
Right.
at the Brain Trust.
Right.
I was about to say, as for other individual projects, I mean, what I actually have spent the last few months on is I've kind of put my activist hat back on, kind of riffing off what Brandon said about, having to be an administrator. I think about all the different things I had to learn. Got to learn how to play bass. Then if you don't already know about business, you have to learn something about business. Then you got to learn about computers. You got to learn how to program. Then a bunch of us a few years ago started going to APAP. Now you got to know how to deal with administrators, you got to know what they need. And now we're in a position where basically the music business is on the verge of collapse. It's not an exaggeration to say that. Going back to why there was no record out. And going back to the things that Brandon's talking about. And in America, we're in a situation right now where they're in the middle of reviewing the copyright law. There's going to be a full rewrite. The plan is to do a full rewrite of the copyright law. The first plan was in the next 4 years, but they've shortened the window to the next 18 months.
Oh.
So within the next 18 months, basically, the laws that govern how we make our money are going to get rewritten.
By whom?
By whom? Yeah.
Well, until guys like me get involved, Google is going to rewrite all the laws because they're the ones who are giving all the advice. So they're saying everything that works for what makes their business model work.
Yes.
And every musician knows that Google's business model does not work for musicians. So,
although I've heard you can monetize your stuff on Google, YouTube now. But that's another story.
But that's
another story.
Yeah, we're getting into literally the thousands of a penny mode here.
Yeah.
So, I became part of an organization that, as of today, is called Content Creators Coalition, and
CCC.
Yes, well, it's C3 we call it.
C3.
And what I'm the head of the policy committee. Okay. My job is to know. I've taken my years of jailhouse lawyering, as people used to call me. So I would always be the guy that people would call when there was something wrong, when they couldn't figure out something in the contract. So I've taken that and I've kind of expanded. I actually had to get prepped by some lawyers to give some testimony in front of the Copyright Office.
Well, we better get you some security, my friend.
Yeah, exactly. So in the process of this, I actually had to learn about copyright law, which I found out most lawyers don't know. It is extremely complicated. And last week I was up at Columbia University, the conference where the head of the
we didn't know this either, by the way. Go ahead.
The head of the U.S. Patent Office was there, who was Obama's advisor for IP affairs. She was there, and the person who's working for the Copyright Office, who's a point person as far as this rewrite, was there. A bunch of artists were there. Some authors. It was basically the theme of this day was artists' input into how the law should go.
Okay.
So this is kind of like something I've gotten involved in the last few months, and I think it's necessary. I think it becomes a question of what does somebody I mean, I'm not an elder yet, but I'm definitely like the guy that people call when you have something to.
You're an elder, dude.
Don't kid yourself.
Yeah. No, I'm not like it's like. I'm not who's dude. I'm not I'm not that guy sitting up on the throne. What I'm saying is people call people look there's people who call me and they trying to figure out their way. So it's kind of like we're all trying. The thing is, right now everybody's trying to figure out their way. Yeah. And so I think one of the things I feel like I can give back is helping to organize and helping to make things better for all of us and us now and for the people who come up after us. Okay. And also, there's a bit of educational component because there's a lot of things about how the internet works. There are a lot of things that were sold in the early days in the 90s that people believe about, free and open source that have either turned out to be straight up lies or totally inapplicable to the music business. Right. As far as people forget, there is literally thousands of years of free music out there that you can access. Yeah. There's literally musicians of the planet have given so much already. To ask now for what we're giving, to give more is just ludicrous to me, Right. Or even if you want to ask us to give more,
paid for it.
Well, it's not even a question. We
have paid for the music.
It has to be an exchange. It has to be if we give, you give. It can't be we give and then you go make a sandwich. So that's kind of that aspect of it.
And then sell it in Hong Kong.
Exactly.
Okay. All that very, very important. Very important. And we could spend a couple more hours talking about this, but we got like.
Oh, one more little thing. Sorry, Sadiq. Important. Harriet Tubman. We did also we're involved in another film score, a documentary film called Melvin and Jean, which I did music for and also incorporated Harriet Tubman music for, largely from Ascension. That is about Melvin and Jean McNair, who hijacked the plane from Detroit in 1971.
Oh, yeah!
To go to meet the branch of the Panthers that was in Algiers at the time, where Eldridge Cleaver was.
Eldridge was there.
Why we don't get no?
And they completed that successfully. A wonderful documentary by Maya Wexler that we are involved in the score for that is the retelling of that story with interviews with them, and then also
they're still alive, right?
Yes, they're still alive. They're living in outside of Caen, I believe, in France, or they're in Normandy in France. Mm-hmm. They're upstanding citizens. They have run a community center. He teaches softball to the kids.
Then too.
They were reconnected with the pilot of the plane that they hijacked because, unbeknownst to either of them at the time, they were both from the same hometown in North Carolina. Among several other ironic coincidences.
What we call irony, yes.
Exactly, connected their fate. So Melvin and Jean, An American Story, scored by Ben Roth and scored with Harriet Tubman.
This interview is chock full of goodies for the people.
You got to go edit it.
Well, I mean, if everything goes well and I didn't screw it up technologically, we're going to have a pretty heavy conversation here. Now, I got to tell you, it's going to go up on YouTube first, because that's the only way we can load it into the website. This is just.
So you don't want to talk
it's
about.
nonsense.
So you,
Wait, let me finish.
you don't want to talk about the police, right?
Well, that's the last question,
Oh. Okay.
or the last inquiry. Nigger hunting season in the USA.
Well, I haven't heard of that, Sadiq. I think it's I don't know what you're talking about.
Season, you acting like that this ends. Season implies that there's an off season.
When did the
There is
season
no off
end?
Yes, there's an off season. It's called Christmas. When everybody cleans the gun and plays with their kids and buys gifts and shit like that. But
And then yeah, well,
it has to do with weather too, because a lot of people like us aren't like hanging out.
Not in the
It's cold
streets.
outside.
I ain't going out there.
Yeah, but I tell you, I have an innate fear of returning.
let me
home.
ask you a question.
Wait, I'm coming home soon.
What's the German media? How does the media portray what's going on over there?
Man, look, if I'm not sitting in the cafe pontificating, they don't know shit. All right, Let me put it like that. Because the German media is all about status quo. And that doesn't basically include Ferguson got mentioned.
That's all media.
Maybe a week after, 3 days. I'll give him some play. Maybe 3 days. But look, I'll tell you. I'll give you, for instance, about German media. In Dresden, a few years back, this Egyptian couple was being harassed by a skinhead neighbor, calling the wife names, whore, bitch, you slut, blah, 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 blah. They pressed charges. They forced the issue into the courtroom. In the courtroom, the plaintiff, the Egyptian woman, was stabbed to death by the guy who she brought to court. Wait. Wait. Listen carefully. She was pregnant. The guy pulls out a knife, stabs her to death in front of the judge and the rest of the guys. When the husband goes to try to protect his wife, the cop comes in the court and shoots the husband.
Oh.
That sounds like St. Louis.
Wait, it took the German media a week. And I counted the fucking days. It took them a week to make this announcement, and then it was edited. I mean, extremely so.
Wow.
That sounds like St. Louis.
Jolie, this guy from Senegal, Cote d'Ivoire, was burned to death in a jail cell. All the cops are outside waiting for the fire department to come. He's in there being roasted alive. Nobody paid for it. There was no demotions or penalties or anything like that. It's an ongoing issue right now. I mean, they're still having demos and protests, and this was years ago. So, I mean, it's not as often, and it's also for a different reason, but the outcome is the same.
Yeah.
Meaning that it's a super duper immigration issue. That's like the number one issue across Europe right now is immigration. It's not just Africans too. It's all Eastern Europeans. They're involved. They get the shit kicked out of them too. Now they've privatized the security forces that
Sounds like home.
Hey, it's global, bro. I mean, it's only one group now. It's only one world. So the same applications are everywhere.
Oh man!
I mean, really. I mean, it's pathology. And it's
But we're not immigrants.
Oh no. Okay. All right. It's like somebody asked me.
There was nobody here when we got here.
Yeah, right. When people ask me how many
All right,
languages.
today's Columbus Day, right?
Yeah.
Oh shit! Oh,
Well,
man.
people ask me how many foreign languages do you speak, and I say, well.
English.
English, bitch.
Yeah, and English is one of them. And so on and so forth. But anyway, how many? I mean, in the news, the last one I think I got was the guy in Utah.
Somebody got shot yesterday.
No, there was another kid in St. Louis got shot.
Yeah, after the Utah guy.
This was like 2 days ago. The cops claim he had a 9.
And he had a sandwich. This is the
Now,
guy, right?
they have film from the convenience store he was at 5 minutes before he got shot. He does not fit the description that the cops gave. He went in there and bought a sandwich.
Right.
And the cops said he hid in the bushes at a certain location. People have gone to the location and filmed the location. There are no fucking bushes at that location.
Come on.
So this is what it
sprinkle
is.
some crack on him.
This is what it is. And that's what's going on in St. Louis. As far as New York, like I told you, the cop straight up jacked $1,500 out of the dude's pocket. He got fired. There was some. I saw a video yesterday of a cop, like this woman jumped in, said something to the cop, and the cop literally slapped her down. I mean, I think what's happened is, you've got all of these years of stop and frisk, Giuliani, and I think the whole.
But on a national level?
Well, I think what you have now is like you got the 1%, and you got their security team, and its security team has lost their freaking minds right now. And they're pushing it to the point where people are saying, you know what? It's like we're humans too, dude. We vote, we pay taxes. It's like y'all are actually our employees. And people are actually finally starting to say, wait a minute.
You're just a civil servant. You're just a civil servant.
It's like you don't come and tell me what to do in my house, my street. This is our street. It's not your street. You work for us.
Unless, of course, policy changes, which
and
means
policy is changing.
Policy changes, which demands the definition of.
In fact, the Supreme Court just passed that law where they don't need a warrant to walk. Like they could walk into my house right now.
On probable cause?
On probable cause.
What determines probable cause?
I don't know, but that law has been.
They do.
And they can search. Yeah,
they do.
They do.
Yeah.
They can just come in right and just go through all my,
I think fortunately,
right here
is
and
it
take
still
it away.
Is it still a policy that you have to have a BA to join NYCPD?
I have no idea what.
Because I mean, it's some goons.
Yeah, well, yeah, but not only that, but you don't even have to live in New York City now to be a New York City police, a cop. You don't have to be from the 5 boroughs. You can be from fucking Westchester,
from Neptune, New Jersey,
to be a New York City cop, and they sit your ass in the middle of like Brooklyn or, the Bronx, like like how this city works.
It's my boy Brandon.
Hey,
Brandon, is that like a new jacket?
Of course.
Yeah, I forgot to.
He had to hook the interview gear up. Okay, my man.
So anyway,
Okay,
yeah,
so no, what I'm saying is all of this in the final. Let's round this shit off.
I'm gonna say this.
Wait, JT. Hold on,
police
JT.
departments
All
are
this is
infiltrated.
under the awning of there's a black man in the White House. So many occurrences in the last 6 years that have to do with race relations, and particularly the violence against black males, young or old, it doesn't matter. They choked that guy to death. He wasn't no kid.
Nope.
The stranglehold they put on that bro, man. I mean, for what?
Oh yeah. Some pussies, man.
So I question the notion of truth to power these days. And for me, it's truth to ownership. Because if you own a motherfucker, like when you signed the deal, when I worked for Morgan Stanley back in the day, you had to sign off. Anything you come up with belongs to us. Because now we pay you, we own you. So just like basketball players, they don't even talk about, he works with this team, he's owned by this concern. So in the language, it creeped back in this notion of ownership because they talk about it a lot in European football and soccer. He's owned by so-and-so who owns the team. So it goes back to copyright. If we own you, you ain't got no motherfucking copyright. Just like W.C. Handy and those guys, all that music being published and sold on Broadway, They wasn't getting that money.
No.
They were owned by whatever it was concern that ran that allowed them to create or da da da. So we're back to this notion of ownership, thereby making allowances for nigga. Look, it may not be an individual that owns you, but the state owns you. We're an apparatus of the state. It's really quite. What do you call it?
Yeah.
What's his name? The communist guy, the last guy who murdered everybody.
Who, Lenin?
This is old age now. With the mustache.
Stalin.
Stalin. I mean,
Yeah.
we're like in Stalingrad.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? We're the checker. Where'd you get that red scarf? Motherfucker, give me that red scarf. You don't pow. You don't deserve no red scarf. I mean,
Sound like St. Louis to
I
me.
mean, really, but I mean, St. Louis is everywhere. I mean, look at Chicago, West Side Chicago.
Oh man.
It's an outrage.
But Sadiq, it's interesting because this is the logical extension of the same issues that Melvin was talking about with C3.
Right.
You
That's
know,
my point.
and DNA and copyright and who owns what and what.
Ebola.
Well, Monsanto seed copyright, copyrighting the ownership of organic natural objects.
Trademarking water.
Like all of this stuff
Yeah.
and licensure related to these things, if such a thing exists. It's a really interesting. It's an interesting parallel. I don't even know if it's parallel. It's probably just a branch of the same direct stream. But I just started thinking about that.
So what do we do? I mean, are we therefore thrown to? I mean, I've been a protest poet all of my writing life. I mean, my entire au revoir has to do with, I'm not taking it. Do what you like, but I'm going to be this, and this is how it sounds. But are we constrained to just that? I mean, are we in a position to have fun at this point in the game? I mean, or has fun become obsolete? When you think about, I mean, whatever fun is for anybody. When you think about what we're up against, I mean, do we have time for fun? Do we have time for a vacation? I mean, do we have time for any motherfucking thing other than to putting a stop to this shit? Because it's not going to stop. I think they're instigating a civil war. That's my point. And then that way they can lock everything down and the 99% can be where they can be found. Or some such scenario as that.
Yeah, could be.
Could be. I think it's a question of love. I mean, I don't use the word fun so much, but I think it's a question. It is definitely a question of joy. And it is definitely a question of nothing's really going to move forward if there's not joy. People are not, I mean, anger is, useful as a cleansing. But you cannot grow.
Profound anger.
You can't grow, and you have to have love and joy to grow things. And what fun means, I mean, fun, this is a discussion I have with my son. Fun is like been co-opted by the corporations of the planet. I'm not sure that I would use that word because to me it means you go to the movies, you go sit while somebody else feeds you.
Right.
To me, it seems like we want to create situations where people are free to make their own decisions about how they free to hear our music and decide if they like it or not. It can't be like, oh, somebody else decided for you if you should access with what we have. And I think we can all interface with people and we can all bring love and joy. And with that, you open the door and you try to drag some people through with you when you go through, or you bust the door open and they're all like, yeah. But I think we have to bring some love. We have to bring joy. That's what we do. That's what African Americans do, man. You come in
and enlightenment.
You bring in you bring the Holy Spirit down, and whoever can't feel that, well then the Holy Spirit knocks them out the way and you keep moving. And then if they don't feel the Holy Spirit, then somebody walks by, go to plan B. But you gotta have both.
Yeah.
Brandon?
I'm kind of underscoring what Melvin's saying, but it also kicked up the thought of choices. Like maybe we're in a time where the choices that could show up. Making a choice. Perhaps a choice is difficult. Maybe there's a difficult choice that you make. I mean, we've chosen to do what we've been doing, as artists, and then within Harriet Tubman as a band, we've chosen to do it. I mean, we've chosen to continue to do it. We've chosen to commit to that which it can be. And, just the response of the so-called industry throughout that period of time. And even when I read reviews by people who write about our band, and of course I have to take responsibility for my interpretation, but what I hear them saying is, it's almost like there's this thing of not trying to dismiss our band, but trying to contain the band, to put the band in this thing. Oh, Harriet Tubman was a band that came about in the late 90s and was associated with the downtown thing, and not really dealing with what we're playing or what we're actually doing.
No substance.
Yeah, Harriet Tubman, which contained some people who used to play with Henry Threadgill and, blah, 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 and played a couple pieces, but not really dealing with what we are actually doing. There are a couple writers who have, and people who have done so, but so you say, okay, even booking agents that we've had over the years who have said, yes, we'll do this with you, but it won't be easy.
You told me that. Yeah.
That kind of thing. And so it's kind of like, well, okay, so what's the choice then? Do I go choose something easy? Is that what you're saying? Do I develop easy project? Do I develop, Uncle Tom band instead of Harriet Tubman or something? I don't know. What does that mean? Does like,
That's a good name for a band.
But you know what I'm saying? Like, okay, so then
that's Lincoln Center territory there.
That would be
Aunt Jemima and the pancakes.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? Is it like
you
that?
Work.
Is that what it is? Is that the option? So do I be myself, or do I be some kind of idea of me that I'm forging through? I'm forging like a human being out of what has meaning to me and what resonates with me, which is going to be harmony. It's going to be resonance with certain people, and perhaps less of that with other people. But committing to yourself in this day and age, it seems to me such a profound act. The further we go along into this new century,
which seems so obvious that it should be so obvious.
It seems so obvious and so natural. People are talking about it even more. In fact, I saw even the YMCA has now a thing in the subway. Back in '82, I wrote this song called "Be the One You Seek" that we used to do with Oliver Lake. Ferron Akhlaf was recently writing something, a book or a dissertational kind of thing, and he wrote to me saying, "What was that thing you used to say?" Because he wanted to quote me in it, which was "Be the One You Seek." And the subway down at the Y, it says, "Be what you seek," at the Y. And I'm thinking, okay, so there's some progression, there's some hint at consciousness.
So that was 82?
That was 82 when I wrote that.
92, 2000. So that was 30-something years ago.
Yeah.
It takes time.
And so it's like, it's interesting to see, okay, well, there's some of that starting to come through in certain places out there as the generations that move into positions of influence transit along. Maybe that's a good thing. And maybe the message is, yeah, we ought to go be what we seek right over here in this place. Do it right here.
Be what you
that's
seek.
what you're seeking right here in this thing, Because everybody knows, diversity is not easy. I mean, democracy, as Leroy Jenkins said, he wasn't talking about democracy, he was talking about freedom. And he said, freedom is hard, freedom's not easy. Even if you're white, he said that, like in this interview. And it's true, being truly free, being committed to yourself, being in touch with reality, being in touch with joy and the kinds of things Melvin was talking about, being in touch with these things, being a live human being is essentially some radical shit.
It's a challenge now.
And that that issue, which, and I know you and I, Sadiq, I mean, we go back a long way, and
man.
we know that.
Sorry.
You and I have had many discussions about that, and we always will. But that's that thing, technologies of being, like the power of the human, what should you conjure from? Ornette Coleman writes a composition, handmade. I mean, it's like, that is still the shit. I mean, a human being is still the
It's still the
shit.
shit. It's still the
It's
shit.
still the
But it's
shit.
And what you were talking about,
absolute premium these days.
it's
Yes,
it's even more premium.
Yeah.
What you were talking about a few minutes ago about what is entertainment? Are we entertainers?
I hope not,
Like my
because you got to dance to be an entertainer.
but entertainment back in the
Sound
day,
like Miles. now.
was about like giving people information for hire or whatever. The information of what's going on around you. Like when Marvin Gaye used to say, like, what's going on?
Right.
Like that. To me, I was raised to be that kind of entertainer, to keep people on point about what politically and socially what the fuck was going on.
Well,
that
I
was
disagree.
the job.
I disagree that that's
It's a
entertainment.
responsibility.
That's responsibility.
To me,
But
that's
that
not
ain't entertainment.
It's a bigger word than that.
Well,
what I mean?
I made this distinction more recently in Berlin because there are entertainers in Berlin.
I mean,
But then there's real artists as well.
well, yeah. See, I mean,
Because an entertainer is like, what you think they want to hear, man? To me, I'm like,
yeah.
what do I think they want to hear? I guess I'm on the wrong gig. You know what I mean? Because I mean, if you spend 50% of your life creating what's given to you, taking this information that you've basically been communicated to you from outside somewhere or inside somewhere,
Right.
and then try to copy that information and make it physically manifest.
Right.
You don't want to I know cats who redo Michael Jackson just so they can have a full house at the jazz club.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, including the sparkling glove, and it's packed.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Well, what are you doing? I mean, you know what I'm saying?
Well, if it works for you, it works for you. But
I'm saying it's entertainment. I mean, and it's fine. I don't knock anybody who's an entertainer. That's not my thing. But let's make this distinction, because the problem has been, like, for instance, in GEMA, unlike ASCAP,
the German
PRO,
Yeah. They have the division between, quote, serious music, end quote, and the rest.
What the fuck is that?
Serious music is the dead shit. Bach, Beethoven, so on.
Exactly.
That's serious music. And then you have the rest. There's no jazz, there's no folk music, there's no blues. It's none of that. It's just like the 1% and the rest.
Yeah.
So, I mean, why isn't what I do serious music? I'm fucking serious. What the fuck you mean? You know what I mean?
It's the same here. It's the same here, Sadiq. It's the same up at ASCAP.
No. Question of who's making the rules. But I'm thinking again, I mean, something popped into my head that pops into my head from time to time. I mean, a lot of times I talk with my son, and he's 14 now, and,
wow.
He's constantly tagging me up for like, hey, Dad, the phone rings, I know what it is, right? And, we had a long conversation. We have many long conversations about money, and it's, I live a much more precarious existence than most of the people he knows.
Yeah.
But I'm free. I do what I want.
Free.
I get up when I want. I go to sleep when I want. I can eat. I can pay my bills. Okay, I'm not rich. I fly all over the world. I've been a bunch of places none of these people will ever go.
Hello.
So this is the trade-off, And something happened many years ago that kind of really sent me off on this direction. I did a long years of like researching family history, and I'll cut to the main part. My dad's father's family's from the Sea Islands, so my sister took my mom's side of the family, and I took my dad's side of the family, and I kind of started researching who was who.
You mean the Gullah?
There you go.
Yeah.
Ishi.
They don't even speak English.
He, she. That's even. I'm old. We don't. Gullah is like that's like the cleaned up version.
Okay.
So finally, I did the research and started asking my dad about his grandfather, my great grandfather.
Ancestors.
Yeah. And I'm like, I got the tape recorder on and we're talking. And I said, okay, so Dad, tell me about your grandpa. And Dad said, Grandpa never worked for the white man. That shit fucked me up for weeks. There was a couple of days I couldn't even like look in the mirror. This guy, dirt poor, he managed to be free. Now, I had to it really kind of made me rethink my life. It's kind of like, okay, what am I going to do? What am I not going to, what's really important, Yeah. And there's a point. I mean, everybody's leaving the islands because, you need money. And then you can't, it's impossible to live off the grid in America because you got to pay taxes. Right? So even if you're in a situation where you don't need any money for any reason, you got to give the government money. So that's how a lot of people end up off the islands. But what I took from that was there is really no excuse for not being free. If he could do it, I can sure do it.
The results may not be the latest pair of Jordys or like I just got a.
Oh, what is free?
Yeah.
Yeah, but I'm saying,
Yeah.
What is
the
success?
benefits have to be.
And that's a deep mythical.
Well, to experience the benefits of this, a lot of times are not impartable. You can't really explain it to somebody who doesn't have a notion of what freedom is.
Right.
But it takes Sun Ra again to say, and I've done this piece many times: freedom from freedom, because there's somebody defining freedom, and you're like, yeah, I want that freedom, and that basically means,
I'm free.
Yeah, I got a Range Rover, and I got so much in my account. I can get on the plane anytime I want to. This sense of mobility, people think, equates to freedom,
Right.
Because it's material. Again,
Right.
and when they say freedom, they think material freedom. Purchasing power, negotiating power, judicial influence because you're a Mason or some shit like that. You know what I mean? But freedom from freedom and democracy. This is Sun Ra's thing. I don't want that shit. You keep it because I'm not from here. So,
I'm from New Jersey.
That's your shit. You got that.
Yeah,
Because I'm not from here.
I'm not from here, so that shit don't apply to me.
Oh man.
Anyway, cats, we have basically nearly 2 hours. I don't know how I'm gonna edit this shit. I mean, because everything's important.
Well, do your best.
Yeah, right.
We just got to come to Berlin, man.
Well, I'm gonna turn the thing on so we can keep talking.
Okay.
Yeah, but if something else jumps up, I'm gonna turn it back on.
Okay. Yeah. you.